So here's what we got today. Well, actually we got it last week, but who's counting? I found this when I was out scrapping. Somebody put it out by the curb. Doesn't look too bad. It's a Bilt pressure washer, 2700 PSI, 2.3 gallon. It's got the Briggs Ready Start 7.75 on it, 175 cc. A little rust on the muffler. Looks like it's been used a bit, but otherwise doesn't look horrible. Got the wand on it. It's only got one tip though. Soap tank's intact. So we're going to see if we can get this thing to run. Might be a bit of an effort. Handle's missing here. I'm assuming there's rope in there. If there's not, we'll have to find something else to do with it. It's got oil in it. Let's see. Gas tank is bone dry. Missing the plate in there that's usually in there. It's a vent. Sometimes they fall off into the tank and they'll block your gas flow. So we'll find out about it. These are usually about $300 at Lowe's or Home Depot. And people use them and they never service them and they stop working and they throw them away, which I don't get, but that's just me. So we'll dig into this and we'll see what's going on. We'll do some button edits on this as usual. I'm not going to show you all the boring stuff. Let's see what we find back in a bit. Okay, so looks like it might have found some problems. The coil's really rusty, and so is the flywheel. This happens on a lot of pressure washers since they're exposed to water a lot. Water gets in there and rusts this up. They don't put a coating on this, which I've never understood. You can hear it scraping a little bit, which means it might be bad contact. So that whole flywheel's got to get cleaned up, and probably the face of that coil. Pull the plug. You can hear. It's got compression. Plug didn't look too bad. It was full of gas or oil or something. It was wet. But the plug itself doesn't look bad at all. So we'll give it a spark test and see what happens. Okay, so I had to put this stud back in to hold the coil down in its proper spot. That actually goes up through this. Right through this hole here, and it also holds on the rewind. Got a temporary fix on the rewind. But instead of putting it all back together, we're going to have a little blast and turn it around, turn it over and see if we can get any spark off of this plug. Let's see. Switch on. And it's to the right rotation. Let's see what happens. Not too great. Doesn't like that too much, does it? That's not going to work. That's not going to work. So we'll figure out something else. Okay, so I was able to get it spun around with this. Like that. And there's no spark at all. Which means either this rust is getting in the way or this coil's crap. So we're going to clean the rust off and see what happens next. Yeah, pretty rusty. There's one of the magnets there. There's a magnet there. Very rusty. Yeah. There's the coil. You can see right there, the legs are rusted up. So I'm going to clean that with a cut brush and see what happens. So here we go. Nice cleaned up coil. Cleaned up the tabs, top and bottom, and the faces especially. And tabs because I got them out here and I went ahead and cleaned those. Go ahead and clean the outside of this wheel. Flywheel. See, that's a lot better. Here's the magnet. That should be enough. Now I gotta reset the coil back in here. Yeah, it takes a little spacing. I'll show you about that. Okay, now, so put your coil back on. Make sure you look at the coil here. You'll see this side out, and the other side will be marked cylinder side. So it only goes one way. There's also a little tab on the bottom for the cutoff wire, and that goes on the bottom always. Put your bolts back in, leave it loose. See how that moves? You see that gap between the flywheel and the coil? That's what you're going to have to adjust. Now here's the trick on it. Get yourself a regular business card and you slide it in between the coil and the flywheel. And I'm going to try to do this. Hold the card in place. Just turn the flywheel around until the magnets come around. Boom. Hear that clunk? It can be a little tricky. Back it off a little. There we go. Magnets clunk and it pulls the coil right towards the flywheel. The card's in between. Just like that. And go ahead and tighten down your bolts. Make sure it doesn't move. There we go. Let's get that side snugged up. This side down. That's too big. Might help if you get the right wrench. There we go. Now these do not have to be super tight. Just nice and snug. Just so it doesn't move. Just slightly to the firm side is the way I like it. There you go. Check this one. There we go. And that coil shouldn't move. All you gotta do is just rotate your flywheel and the card comes right out. And the gap in there is set perfect. Now we gotta test for some spark. Okay, couldn't hand spin it to check it, so I just put it back together. It's my temporary fix for the handle. It's got a nut there, a piece of window screen extrusion I got laying around from scrap. Spark plug. Let's see if we can see some spark. I see it. So that's working. Now we just need to drop a little fuel in it and see if we can't get it started. Alright, so we squared a little gas to the spark plug hole, got the spark plug back in. Switch is on. Let's see what happens. That's encouraging. Okay. Let's see. supply. Got my little squirter bottle here. Try getting some down in here. See if it wants to draw it. Okay, check the bowl next. I just want to make sure it would fire off. So here, what's it going to do? Get that closed. I'm going to take the bowl off here, have a look at it, make sure the jet's not plugged up. And then we'll probably put some gas in the tank and go from there. Okie finokie. Here's the bowl, not too dirty, but you can tell gas looks kind of green. A few specks of junk in there, but not that big of a deal. You smell that? It smells exactly like lacquer thinner. So God knows how long it's been sitting there. That's not gasoline anymore. And here's the nut, also known as the jet. There's little holes in the side here and a hole in the top. The hole goes all the way down. And that side hole goes all the way through. See the green corrosion right there? Brass and copper will do that when it corrodes. And that's also why that fuel is green. And you're supposed to be able to see through that hole. We can just barely see through it. So that's probably plugged up and needs to be cleaned. So I'll get on that right now. Okie doke. So one cleaned out bowl, a little black piece on the bottom are actually in the metal, they don't come out. But I just put a little gas in it, rubbed around my finger, got everything clean, it's all nice and smooth. And there's the bowl nut jet. And by the way, I use this to shove it through there, but if you don't have it, you can use a small piece of copper wire, which is preferable, because copper will not mar up the inside of these holes. You could use one bristle off of a steel brush, but you got to be careful with it. You could also use, and this is really easy, a nice long needle, sewing needle with a head on it. Yeah, ask your wife or girlfriend, maybe they know. Or maybe you know. Not to be sexist anyway. But here we go, look at this. You can see right through that now. See how it's a lot more clear? When that's blocked up like it was before, it doesn't pass gas through there and up into that hole and up into the carburetor. Now hopefully I don't have to get into the carburetor any, because this goes into another jet in the carburetor and pulls up through the carburetor and into the engine. Don't forget to put your gasket back on here. I did not take the gasket off the carburetor for the bowl, it's still on there. I don't want to replace it because they cost money. I'm just trying to get this thing running to see if I can't, sell it, make a little money on it for nothing. So we'll get this back on, we'll get some gas in it and give it a shot. Alrighty then, so we got the bowl off, cleaned it, put it back on. By the way, this nut on the bottom is 1/2 inch. And you do not need to crank this down. Just when you put it back on, just barely snug it up. I just use the ratchet and just use 2 or 3 fingers and just snug it up. No need to crank on it because you will wreck this gasket and this bowl. So here we go. Get some gas in there. Let's see what we get. Contact. Might take a few pulls. Take some more gas in the tank. Hang on. There you go. No more gas in the tank. We'll give it a shot now. to. Good enough for me for right now. Check this oil a little better. I don't want to run it too long because it's a pressure washer and I don't have the water hooked up. It could burn out the pump if it's not already. Oh yeah, plenty of oil. Clean too. So we'll get some water hooked up to this. We'll give it a shot. Stand by. Okay, so testing, not so good. Pump is messed up on it. Cracked. Leaking like a sieve. If it's got any water pressure on it coming from the faucet, it drags the engine down. You turn the water off. As soon as the pressure leaks down from the water, engine spools right up. So there's probably something internal wrong with that pump as well. And I don't get into those, so heck with it. So we'll just list it up as a pressure washer that needs a pump, or since it's a vertical shaft engine and a 7 3/4, it's a good replacement motor for lawnmower. That would work. Or if you got a pressure washer that needs a motor. Plus, you know, there's some extra parts and stuff on here. If you got another one like it, you need a parts machine. Motor alone's worth at least $1, so we'll try to get that out of it. If that's certainly $75. I'm not going lower than that. I'll keep it before I sell it for lower than that. So there you go. It runs okay. And it's a little warm, but just so you can see it. So, yes, it runs. It will run. So, Craigslist, next stop. Hope this has been of some help to anybody out there looking. I saw a lot of postings about these Troy Bilt pressure washers on YouTube. And they seem to have a lot of problems. I don't know why. Maybe because the pump's still made in China and it's crap. Crap. That's K-A-R-A-P. Crap. In any case, there you go. Again, hope it was some help. Thanks for watching. Thanks for looking. See you next time.